Hey guys, Charles Barber here today, and another little FAQ about the supplement industry, the food industry as a whole, and ways to educate you as a consumer so that you can make the best choices possible for your health and your family. And a lot of these conversations I have a lot in the Wellness Center, and again, I'm just kind of going into a lot of these conversations and repeating them on the camera. And so today I want to talk about something that if you guys are into super herbs or any type of natural extraction of mushrooms, or mainly plant botanicals, so herbs like roots or leaves or flowers, and how they're all extracted, this is going to really bring you some extremely valuable information and educate you. Because a lot of what we're seeing today is we're seeing a lot of what's called standardization in the herbal industry. We're actually seeing it's a worldwide phenomenon. And this is something that's really important. So just so you guys can understand what I'm talking about here, if you take any look at companies that sell herbs like ashwagandha or reishi mushroom, or any of the tonic herbs that you see that we offer, or any other tonic herbs that we don't offer that you are taking, a lot of times on the back of the package you'll see a nutrition facts, and instead of seeing a typical breakdown of like fats, carbs, and proteins, you'll actually see, like, for example, ashwagandha will say it'll say nutrition fact ashwagandha, and then it'll say like standardized, or it'll say organic extract, or it'll say full spectrum, or it'll say a 1 to 4 standardized, or a 1 to 4 freeze dried, or basically showing you the potency of the herb. So the idea is that the active ingredient, the herb that is on the label there, it's basically explaining a little bit as to how it's being extracted. And a lot of times, manufacturers want to hide, how they're extracting these herbs because it's extremely dirty. And I had no clue until I got into the industry, and even in the beginning of getting in an industry, ordering herbs kind of blindly and just checking things out. It wasn't until I actually went to some of these facilities, it wasn't until I got really educated on the processes, which is a lot of the reason why we do all of our own manufacturing and do all of our own stuff, and why we also choose certain manufacturing practices like stone grinding, fermenting, or freeze drying versus a standardized extraction. So let's just go straight into it. So one thing you want to see, if you see on the back of a label, if you see standardized anything, whether, again, herb, mushroom, whatever plant botanical you see, more than likely 99%, unless it's going to be noted, that herb is going to be basically extracted with a solvent. And let me explain what that is, because water can be a solvent. But when I say solvent in this stance, I'm meaning more of like a volatile compound, like something like methane or hexane. And this is something that's used across the board in the supplement industry. Especially now that people are getting into what we've been doing for 10 years, you're seeing a lot more companies sell ashwagandha, mucuna purines, reishi mushroom. You see a lot of more companies pushing algae, things like maca root. They're gelatinizing maca root now, which is another way to standardize it. And we're seeing a lot of kind of these key herbs that obviously we've been talking about for a decade now, but you're seeing them getting extracted in different ways, and you're seeing them put into different forms that allow them to like instantly break down in water, and you're getting them this whole marketing, it's 10 to 1 or it's 20 to 1, so it's 20 parts to 1, so it's extremely potent, so you don't need to take a little bit. And so one thing to understand is like what they're doing is they're looking at, say in ashwagandha, there's certain saponins inside of it that make ashwagandha do what it says, the research says it does, right? So people say, okay, ashwagandha root has this certain nutrient inside of it, this certain nutrient, and in ashwagandha's sake is, for memory, or for the thyroid, or like for holy basil, can help raise testosterone, lower cortisol. So what they're finding is there's a certain compounds inside of these herbs, they're usually alkaloids or saponins, and they want to just give you that compound. We see this a lot with turmeric, by the way, because even some people just sell like curcumin. They don't even sell like turmeric root extract. They don't even call it that. They just call it straight curcumin, because they've actually standardized that compound out of the raw material. And that's what's happening, guys, okay? So they're taking that active constituent that the research is indicating does, the benefit, and they're saying basically, we don't need the rest of the herb, we just need what's inside the herb. And we're gonna take that and we're gonna standardize it so we can get the same potency every time. So in a way, you could think it would have some benefits because you're gonna be having a consistent product. But the problem is the product as a whole is not, it's sub-superior, right? It's bar none. It's a lower grade of that herb. And the reason why is because we don't fully understand herbs and natural medicines. And I go back to a quote that I mentioned in a few other videos, and I'm gonna probably keep mentioning it because it's powerful. Nature left alone is in perfect balance. So when God created these, or the Creator created these herbs and plants, He never really intended man to come in and use all this chemistry to standardize or to create these extracts, if you will. And where I'm getting at here is that God made everything perfect, or the Creator who created everything, whatever created everything, made it perfect as is. And there's very little that we actually have to do to obtain those nutrients inside these plant foods, these herbs and these plant medicines. And doing all these crazy extractions where things are standardized, you start to kind of get into this world of, it's full on chemistry, but it's not really what the research is indicating, because even though a lot of the research is saying that, this constituent inside this herb does this thing, your body's ability to be able to actually assimilate and absorb those compounds in those herbs, those active compounds in those herbs, is really dependent upon the other counterparts in the herb. So it's just like a vitamin. It's really a vitamineral. It kind of goes the same with, like, say, vitamin C. You see a lot of things on the market where you see vitamin C and then you see absorbic acid next to it, or you see B vitamins and then you see like coal tar derivatives next to it, or you'll see a parentheses next to it. And that's actually what you're getting. So just for vitamin C's sake, say you go and you get something like most companies will sell you, and you'll look on the back and it'll have the nutritional panel and it'll show like all these vitamins and minerals, but it has these parentheses next to them. Vitamin C typically has absorbic acid next to it, and you're actually getting absorbic acid. So what they've done is they've actually, chemically, created absorbic acid to mimic vitamineral C. But the man who actually did that is quoted by saying that the whole food botanicals are the way to go. They're way more absorbable, they're going to be more efficient in the body, and they're actually going to be healthy for you, and they're actually going to give you what the research indicates. So again, vitamin C can treat and prevent scurvy. Absorbic acid can't. So we're not getting vitamin C when we take absorbic acid. We have to understand this. And I think a lot of us get it too, because we hear about in the supplement industry, like, supplements are bunk, vitamins and minerals like this, they don't really work, and it's all pseudoic. And there's some truth to that, because if you're taking these compounds and not the real McCoy, then yeah, you can create oxidative damage in the body. Absorbic acid has been proven to show that it creates oxidative damage in the body. The coal tar derivatives, a lot of the B vitamin aftermath, the chemical B vitamin parts, those are all coal tar derivatives. Those cause oxidation, they cause liver stagnation, liver issues as well over time. And what's interesting is all these compounds, that we're seeing, and all this standardization that we're seeing in the plant world is a new phenomenon. It's not anything that we really know a lot about. So with our track record with chemistry, we can pretty much guarantee that it's not going to be good for us. And just because there's a 90-day trial done from some university that got funding from the company that's selling the product, doesn't necessarily mean after 90 days that you're still going to have benefits, because that's typically how long these studies are done, guys. And one thing that's tried and true is food. One thing that's tried and true is nature. And so leaving it alone, knowing that it's in perfect balance, knowing that there's certain counterparts inside foods outside of the active ingredient that actually make that active ingredient work, is really, really where we want to pay attention. it's really where we want to focus our time and energy, as far as like how are we going to feed our family, how are we going to feed ourselves. And so this is something that we pride ourselves in at Crucial 4. So at Crucial 4, we're always trying to look for freeze-dried products, fermented products, air-dried products, dehydrated products, and that's typically all of how our products go. All of the herbs inside in breakfast are either a 1-to-2 or a 2-to-1 ratio or a 4-to-1, and these are just, spray dried. So we're basically soaking them in water, and we're spray drying these guys. And so the water kind of boils like a tea, right? It just makes like a tea decoction, and then we just spray that water out and let that dry out, and that's what you get. You'll never get typically a 10-to-1 in that. You typically get a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1, but it's not standardized. It hasn't been basically a super harmful solvent hasn't went in, like a chemical solvent hasn't went in and actually extracted that compound down to like just that one compound and got rid of everything else. Water doesn't do that as a solvent. Water is one of the best solvents in the world to use, but you have to have clean water and you have to have really good equipment to do it. The other thing is you have to have really good raw materials. And that's the number one thing that's happening and why so many things are standardized. The raw materials are crap. They're loaded with heavy metals. They've got all types of pesticides or herbicides. Even the organic ones are loaded with heavy metals, even though they might not have herbicides and pesticides. But what's happening is when you standardize things with these harmful solvents, you're actually concentrating the metals. Versus when you use water, water actually will pull out the metals and you actually won't get that in the end product. So doing water extractions is definitely where you want to go if you are going to create, a 4-to-1 or a 3-to-1. But the best extraction that I found is in our freeze-dried products that we have, from our Sazandra berry to our blue butterfly to our holy basil. We're going to be launching a monkey head mushroom, a go-to cola. We've got a gynostemma we haven't released yet, along with those other 3 that we have that we haven't released yet. But basically, we have this freeze dryer that we found that is a little bit different than a traditional commercial freeze dryer. It actually throws things in the air, suspends it, and then breaks it down to a dust molecule. So it can actually take this stuff picked at peak ripeness, and you can preserve it in that energetic state. And so when you consume it, you're basically getting fresh picked leaves, and you're getting that download, and you're not getting anything pulled out of it. It's just freeze dried, so it's frozen, and then the water's pulled out of it, and that's it in that regard as far as an extraction method. So just some things to be looking at. You want to stay away from standardized herbs. You want to stay away from what's called fractionalized vitamins. I mentioned the vitamin C and the absorbic acid. These are things that aren't food-based. They're chemical-based, or chemicals have been used inside them. And your body's biology, your microbiome, your bacteria don't really know how to utilize these things. So even though some of these things you can pop in your mouth and swish around and they just absorb right then and there, even though you're bypassing that matrix, that's not necessarily, your way in or your way out, if you will. Because one thing that we have to understand is that the gateway to true health is the gateway through to our palate. So being able to actually consume these herbs in more of their whole form state, their full spectrum state, if you will, just like our CBD oil that has the terpenes, it has all the CBD factors, it has the legal limit of THC that we just heat up until we distill that out until it's gone. It's got everything inside of it, just like our Sazandra. When you look at our Sazandra berry, it's got the skin, the seeds, it's got everything inside of it. And so this is something that is extremely important as a consumer that you need to educate yourself on, because, for me, I didn't start this company because I was going to go and sell health supplements. I got into health and found out that majority of it was garbage. And then as I got into more of the super herbs and super foods, started working with Taoists and shamans, I found that these extraction methods just weren't available. And so as I started to kind of research and do things on my own, I realized that we were going to have to actually manufacture a lot of this stuff ourselves. Which is why it's been so long for me to get in front of this camera and actually educate you guys on this. It's just been extremely busy. But at the end of the day, this is why Crucial 4 is different. This is why we do what we do. This is why we exist. And this is why you need to understand that these ways that we're extracting things are the most opulent way, the most purest, the most potent way to actually extract herbs, while at the same time keeping all their energetic compounds so that less is more. So that, as you lessen more in that you get more out of less. So you're not having to necessarily buy these crazy extractions to get more of that, 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 compound, because you're not going to really absorb that like you think you might anyways. You're actually going to get more from doing less and just using water, using freeze-dry techniques, fermentation techniques, spray drying techniques. And these are the techniques that you want to look for. And these are only the techniques we use at Crucial 4. Again, we do not standardize anything. We use full spectrum extract so that you can get the whole enchilada. And again, just going into why that's important, again, there's certain compounds inside herbs, inside foods, that make those active constituents actually work and get absorbed. Also, by having that full extraction present and you able to actually taste that, that's going to affect your palate, which is going to be obviously your taste buds. And your taste buds govern a lot of your organ and meridian functions of your body. So, and they also help with cravings. So this whole idea that diets are something that we struggle with so much, there's a reason why, and I'm going to go into that into another video. But the whole point here is that we want to be cultured in all 5 flavors: sweet, sour, which I know most of us have the sweet down, but we need more, I would say as an American working in the wellness center for 10 years, we need more sours, we need more astringents, we need more bitters, right? And then the last one's obviously salt. But those bitters, astringents, and sours are missing from our diet. And that's why we see so much liver stagnation. And the reason, again, why this is important is because if you want to be healthy and you want your body to operate in homeostasis and balance, you have to have a balanced diet. And by having balanced flavor profiles, you have a balanced diet, okay? That helps you not have to, struggle with dieting so much. But the key to doing that is that you actually get compounds that can actually activate those meridians. And so by you getting these crazy standardized extracts, or trying to get your vitamins from these fractionalized vitamins and minerals from these, rocks, ground down rocks, your body's not going to be able to absorb those. You might feel good because it says that you're getting these things, but just because you're eating these things doesn't mean you're absorbing them. Just like I can sit here and pick up this stick right here, I could eat this stick, I could chew on this stick and I could eat it. And the nutrition facts would be stick, I'm getting stick in my body. Now obviously we know stick's not good for me, but you look at this just like we look up absorbic acid. And in our world, absorbic acid is known as vitamin C. So if I'm going to eat this absorbic acid, I'm going to be thinking I'm getting vitamin C, but I'm not. I'm getting absorbic acid. And so all the cofactors and coenzymes that make vitamin C actually work, which the research indicates can treat and prevent scurvy, are present in the food, not present in absorbic acid. And again, the guy who actually developed absorbic acid is on paper saying that. He's quoted by saying the whole food botanical is better than what I created. So just remember that. The guys that even create these fractionalized vitamins, the guys that do these standardized herbs and whatnot, they're not taking this stuff, they're just chemists. And I went to the school for biochemistry. I see how it works, you're balancing out equations and you're kind of just in this left brain mentality. You're not working in accord with nature and harmony. Because at the end of the day, we're working too hard trying to shove things around. We just need to relax and chill. We need to breathe and we need to think, what makes sense? What's whole? What makes me whole? And that's whole food, full spectrum nutrition. And that's exactly what you're gonna get Crucial 4. You're only gonna get that at Crucial 4 across the board. And it's why I wanted to shoot this video, just to educate you guys on kind of like the back end of how our herbs and mushrooms and whatnot are extracted. All right, well, if you have any questions or comments for me, please leave them below, because I would love to hear from you. I'm super excited to be able to shoot these videos. Taking the Wellness Center digital is something that I've just dreamed of doing, and here we are. Much love, namaste, peace.